All right, when last we met, last Wednesday, we opened up or introduced a new section of Isaiah, starting in chapter 36, if you want to go ahead and have your Bibles turned there. But this new section we introduced by talking about the principle of an unforeseen test. The fact that Isaiah was recounting history in chapters 36 through 39, what we call a historical interlude. And whenever you have history, for instance, your history book in school, if you read about certain people, certain places, certain events, you expect those things to be real people, real places, real events that actually occurred, that actually existed, right? And if we have a text such as Isaiah that makes certain historical claims, and we find that those historical claims cannot be verified, in fact, might even be falsified, how much of the book of Isaiah can we hold up as truth? We can find one thing that's falsifiable. How much of the book of Isaiah can we hold up as truth? None. Just throw it out, right? So that's he's making claims that would be very bold if he was not speaking from that time, that point in history, in 701 BC. And so what we're reading here in the next few chapters is historical. It's if Isaiah is proven reliable in that we can verify those things, names, places, and events, we have reason to trust him in what we cannot yet fully verify. So if Isaiah makes historical claims about people, places, events that we can prove and verify, we can easily see them throughout the annals of history, we can trust him with what we cannot fully see or verify, the spiritual side of things. Isaiah tells us that Sennacherib invaded, Hezekiah prayed, God delivered Jerusalem from Sennacherib and Assyria. Isaiah also tells us that God hears prayer. Also tells us that God judges the prideful. Also tells us that God keeps his promises. So if we can see and verify one thing, we can have confidence in the other, can't we? So, John 3:12, it's up on the board there. If I have told you earthly things, this is our Lord speaking, if I have told you earthly things and ye believe not, how shall ye believe if I tell you heavenly things? If you can't believe the things I'm telling you that are of this world, how are you supposed to believe the spiritual side of things? So that's why these things are important. That's why the conversation we had last Wednesday matters. Any comments or questions on that? Any questions come up while we were in class last Wednesday that I just talked through? All right, so we'll just open up to chapter 36, and chapters 36 through 37 speak of Sennacherib's invasion of Judah and his coming to basically the gates of Jerusalem. Have you ever faced a situation where someone was trying to shake your faith? That someone was trying to question whether or not God exists, or question whether or not the Bible is God's word, question whether or not God was capable of fulfilling his promises? Have we had instances in our life where someone's trying to shake the very foundation of our faith? Maybe not someone we directly know even, but there's always someone out there. We see this happening with Hezekiah. We see this happening with the entire city of Jerusalem in chapter 36. Just the setting of this, again, it's 701 BC. It is the 14th year of Hezekiah's reign, and we have Sennacherib of Assyria. He's already conquered 46 fortified cities of Judah. Now think about that. 46. That's a feat, isn't it? That's not just any nation can do that. But he's sacked 46 cities, fortified. Means they have walls, means they have defenses. And then Jerusalem is next. And with it, the survival of God's people. Most importantly, with it, the Davidic line. David's lineage is there in Jerusalem. And so Hezekiah, the people of Jerusalem, are going to have their faith shaken here. And we can pull a lesson from how Hezekiah and the people respond to this threat. But first, let's read verses 1 through 3, if someone could, of Isaiah chapter 36, 1 through 3.
Now it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah that Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. Then the king of Assyria sent the Rabshakeh with a great army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem, and he stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool on the highway to the fuller's field. And Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the reporter came out to him.
All right, thank you very much. So we've got some intimidation happening here. The very facts that we just listed are intimidating facts. 46 cities, fortified cities of Judah, Sennacherib's conquered. Lachish has fallen. Lachish is one of the most fortified cities of Jerusalem, or of Judah at that time, and Assyria there was nothing to them. And so now the Assyrians are a massive army at Jerusalem's gates. And so far, Assyria has not been defeated. Those are pretty intimidating facts, aren't they? If you were in the shoes of someone, the sandals, I guess, of someone within Jerusalem, you'd be pretty scared, right? The location of Rabshakeh, Rabshakeh, I believe the Rabshakeh is basically someone who has the title of cupbearer for an Assyrian king. And so this guy he's working for Sennacherib, and he's showing up to Jerusalem to deliver a message, and another intimidating message, with the goal of intimidating, undermining the faith of those in Jerusalem, and also providing false hope to them. And so the location he shows up to is strategic, because he shows up, if you look at verse 2, and he stood by the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field. Does anybody remember what else took place there in this study in the book of Isaiah? Yep, the Hezekiah's conduit may have been a part of that, but chapter 7, this is where Isaiah met King Ahaz. And I believe one of his sons, Maher-shalal-Hashbaz, I believe he was with them at that point. But this is the same place Isaiah met Ahaz, and for a very good reason. This was a public place, is where people went to wash their clothes, and it was basically in office terms, it's a water cooler. It's where people go, where everyone goes, and at least has a part of their day or week there to some extent. Very public place. It's also near the water supply. So think about that. Massive army surrounding your city, and the enemy has sent his messenger, and he's right there beside the water supply. Very important part of survival, right? And so intimidation, he's sent there to undermine the faith of the people. And the message there is severalfold. Let's someone, if I could have you read verses 4 through 10.
Rabshakeh said to say to Hezekiah, thus says the great king, king of Assyria, and what do you rest this trust in? Do you think your words are strategy and power? And whom do you now trust that you have rebelled against me? Behold, you are trusting in Egypt, that broken reed of a staff, which will pierce the hand of any man who leans on it. Such is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who trust him. But you say to me, trust in the Lord our God. Is it not he whose high places and altars Hezekiah has removed, saying to Judah and to Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar? Come now, make your wages with my master, the king of Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses, if you are able on your part to set fire to them. How then can you repulse a single captain among the least of my master's slaves? When you trust in Egypt, chariots, and moreover, is it without the Lord that I have come up against this land to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against the land.
All right, thank you, brother. So a lot of this sounds like what Isaiah has already told them, right? How is the Rabshakeh's message about the same? Where do he and Isaiah agree here? What part of it? Trusting in who? Egypt. Trusting in Egypt is a mistake. Isaiah said it, and Rabshakeh is saying it. He's got a little bit. He's got some truth, right? And that's where every lie, everything that is meant to shake our faith, everything that is meant to deceive us, they're not going to do it by just 100% lies, are they? They're going to mix in a little bit of truth. And so that's something we need to always be on guard for. They'll always make it sound like they are correct. And the way to do that is to mix in a little bit of truth with their lie. And so the Rabshakeh is doing that here. And so he's, first of all, in verses 4 through 6, he's questioning their resources. He says he's questioning, again, he's up at the fuller's field. He's up here where it's a very public area, and he's speaking in what language? Hebrew. He's speaking to where they can all hear him and understand him for a very, very good reason. And so he's saying, you're going to trust Hezekiah? You think he's going to get you out of this mess? Accusing them of having vain words, that is, empty promises. And then he correctly points out that Egypt is a broken reed, that a broken reed, would be something that appears to be trustworthy, appears to be strong, but reed, I believe it's hollow on the inside, isn't it? Hollow. If you put your trust in that, it's going to snap. And as the Rabshakeh says here, it's going to pierce your hand. So a little bit of truth mixed in there. He's going to say also, you've got no military strength. In verse 7, he questions the reforms that were brought. Hezekiah was a good or a bad king? He was a good king. Why? Why was he good? He took down the altars and the high places. Absolutely. Got rid their land of idolatry. The Rabshakeh is going to look at this and he's going to say, that reform did you no good. You destroyed the high places. Your Lord's going to be angry with you. You destroyed the places where you worship, right? So put yourself in the shoes or the sandals, once again, of a Jerusalemite. Back then in ancient days, they might have been drawn astray by this. Oh, that makes sense. Tearing down a religious symbol, that's bad, you know? You're going to make the Lord mad. So the Rabshakeh is using this, and he's using half-truths to confuse the people. And then we find that he questions their God. I wonder if someone could read for us verses 11 through 20.
Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joab said to the Rabshakeh, please speak to your servant in Aramaic, while we understand it, and do not speak to us in Hebrew, in the hearing of the people who are on the wall. But the Rabshakeh said, as my master sent me to your master, and you to speak these words, and not to the men who sit on the wall, who will eat and drink their own waste with you. Then Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in Hebrew and said, hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you. Nor let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for he, thus says the king of Assyria, make peace with me by a present, and come out of me, and every one of you eat from his own vine, and every one from his own fig tree, and every one of you drink the water of his own cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards. Beware lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, the Lord will deliver us, as any one of the gods of the nations delivered this land from the hand of the king of Syria. Where are the gods of Haman and Arad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? Indeed, have they delivered Samaria from my hand? Who among all the gods of men have delivered the country from my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem from my hand?
All right, thank you very much. So the core attack here, again, he's attacking Hezekiah, saying, well, you can't trust in your leader. Back up. What are Eliakim and Shebna trying to get the Rabshakeh to do? Stop speaking in a language that the people here are going to understand, right? We know Aramaic. Just speak to us in that, and we'll have a conversation. Of course, Rabshakeh does not do that. He did this very intentionally. He's trying to shake their faith. And again, continues to use he's given us the half-truths, and now he's going into straight-up lies. The core attack here is, your God's no different from pagan gods. Your religion is no different from all these other religions. All these other religions that all of these other cities that we just sacked prescribe to. All the gods of these other cities, we've taken them out. What good did their gods do for them? And why do you think your God's going to do any better than they did? And so he's using a historical track record here to say, we've beat all these other religions. Your God's going to be no different. So surrender is basically your only option here. He also claimed God's authority. Kind of a strange thing to claim after you said he did this before, disclaiming who their God is. In verse 10, am I now come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. So the Rabshakeh is saying, your God sent me here. Your God, this is a message from your God, basically. A strange thing to say before you say your God is nothing compared to all these other pagan gods. Of course, when is pretzel logic ever persuasive to people? Yeah, it is. A lot of people are fooled. We talked last week, compared the principle of the unforeseen test, right? We compared, who do we use to compare to Isaiah? The Book of Mormon, right? Are there not many people that ascribe to the Book of Mormon, that believe it is truth? There are. Despite there being DNA evidence that disproves the claims, despite there being no archaeological evidence, even evidence to the contrary, the book is very falsifiable, but people still believe it. You think people were shaking in their boots behind hearing the words of the Rabshakeh? We find that there are. They are believing these half-truths, believing these lies.
One thing though, if you think there were any warriors in Jerusalem, generals, whatever, could they not see that? Wait a minute, why is this guy even having a conversation? If he doesn't believe, if he believes that we don't have God is on us, our God is real.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he even having this conversation? He could just come and take us.
Right. That's very true.
Else. So why would they even? Why are we having this conversation? Because he knows.
Mm-hmm. Well,
everybody, God and Jehovah is real,
mm-hmm.
and everybody kind of believes it. Should believe it.
That's a good point. One way of looking at it would be, remember why they're in this position in the first place. Ahaz, right? Ahaz was trusting in a man-made institution, that being Assyria. And so what they end up doing is paying tribute to Assyria. And now the reason they're here is because Hezekiah says, we're not doing that anymore. I kind of think maybe they want them to start doing that again. Maybe that's a little bit less, it's a little bit less trouble to have a vassal state than to attack fortified cities and take it over. Just maybe that's.
What's interesting is in verse 3, you get to know who these speakers are, who is representing these people on behalf of them, and all the people. You see who Shebnar, the scribe, Jonah, the son of, and then the reporter. And then when you go down and like you're reading to it, in verse 11, you see they're the ones that said to Rabshakeh, please speak to us, to your servant in Arabic. We understand you not speak to us in Hebrew. Like you have through someone to Moses. Like you get to see snippets of the past. You have the speaker who was speaking from people, but because they were, not that other people were not, but we didn't think they would kind of be the representative of those people.
They are
just like Moses and Aaron.
Right. They're communicators to the people at the very least, right? And if you think about that, what are they doing in verse 11? They're saying you're upsetting the people, right? You know, what does a leader do though? Leader might just answer, right? And so we'll see what Hezekiah does. I think. Did you have some?
Well, I was going to say similar to what Mike was saying. It reminds me of Balaam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Balaam could not curse. So we learn in Revelation, he taught Balaam that, hey, you have to get these people to start forsaking their God, and then God will turn against them.
Yeah.
So that is a legit thing that has happened throughout history.
Yeah. Very good point. That was psychological.
Right.
This is psychological.
Yeah. And we go through this now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
Micro.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have so many denominations.
Mm-hmm.
Just that little battle. Oh, yeah. Truth. This is
right.
Book of Mormon is the truth.
All right. Well, think about what evolution does. What that's a lot of that. You know, some of them we know have the humanists have an agenda to undermine our faith, to get us out from under our faith in God. And in order, Christians aren't humanists. In order to make a Christian humanist, you got to stop them from being a Christian.
Well, if you watch the news today, the past couple of days, there's been a lot of battles there that's going on. It's still, there was one thing they showed me, one of the senators asking a medical doctor, when she was there, he just asked, can a man get pregnant? She could not answer that.
Right.
Or would not answer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the medical doctor that
Yeah.
said that science should answer if they not
Yeah.
politician or political statement. But she can't answer it with the science.
Yep.
She
And
doesn't
even
even believe it. So don't believe your lying eyes. You know,
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
you-
yeah, we had the
what's
same
up,
thing.
what's down, what's down is up.
Yeah, we had the same thing happen in the Supreme Court this week too. One of the justices, I can't remember who, asked the lawyer, Alito, right?
Oh, yeah.
So asked the lawyer that was for the side that's trying to get men or boys able to compete in women's sports. Asked what is a man and a woman or a boy and a girl? Said we don't have an answer for the court today. This is what the attorney said. So yeah, it's they'll get you to that's they're trying to undermine what we know is truth, and that is the goal of the Rabshakeh here. And so he claims God as his authority. We saw in verse 10 his ultimate blasphemy there, and then in verse, if we look back at verse 36. And Rabshakeh said unto them, say ye now to Hezekiah, thus saith the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this wherein thou trustest? That word confidence, trust, security. I think those people want security now. Security, assurance. Where is your trust placed is the question. And do you trust this king? Where is our trust placed today? Something we need to be asking ourselves. Are we trusting in chariots? By the way, the Rabshakeh says this. It's also in Psalm 20 and verse 7. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Where is your trust today? Because you have people like the Rabshakeh today, institutions, organizations, entire educational boards, and what have you, trying to shake your faith in God. Where is your faith today? Well, we have the account of Hezekiah's response. I wonder if someone could read chapter 37, verses 1 through 4.
As soon as King Hezekiah tore his clothes, covered himself with sackcloth, and entered the house of the Lord, he sent Eliakim, who was over the household, and Shebna the secretary, the senior priest, covered with sackcloth, the prophet Isaiah, son of Amos, said to him, thus says Hezekiah, today is a day of distress, and disgrace. Children have come to the corn party, and there is no strength. It may be that the Lord your God will hear the words of the Rabshakeh, whom his master, the king of Assyria, has sent to mock you, and will rebuke the words of the Lord your God has heard. Therefore, lift up your prayer for the remnant.
All right, so thank you very much. Hezekiah's immediate response we see here is to rend his clothes, to put on sackcloth, something we see in various places throughout the Old Testament as a sign of mourning. And what he's doing here is acknowledging, first of all, the gravity of the situation. But what does he do right? He goes to Isaiah. He goes to the right place. He goes to the house of the Lord. So he goes to the right place. He's sent for the right source. He goes to the prophet, Isaiah. He's seeking Isaiah. Isaiah is a messenger for who? For God. So he's seeking God's word, isn't he? He's going to the right place. He's seeking God in the right place, from the right source. And he called things as they were. He called this blasphemy against the living God. And if you look at the nature of Hezekiah's request here, notice we don't read Hezekiah with an attitude of, God, just get me out of this. Is that what we're hearing? God, just get me through this. This is a physical situation that is very difficult. And yet, where is Hezekiah's focus here? His focus is the name of God has been blasphemed. Are you going to respond, God? Your name has been blasphemed. Not my city's about to get sacked. Is his focus on temporal things, temporary things? We'd have a hard time not focusing on the temporary things in that situation. Would you agree? If we found that our very home, our very lives were threatened, we'd have a hard time focusing on anything but the immediate situation. But Hezekiah focuses on the spiritual. God's name's been blasphemed. You wonder how the martyrs do what they did. And you wonder, if I were facing the situation that Stephen faced in Acts, if I were facing the situation Isaiah was in, would I be able to focus on the spiritual, focus on what glorifies God, and just see this for what it is? It's temporary. It's physical. It's just for a time. It's not eternal. Hezekiah was able to do that. He was able to focus on God's honor here and not just his personal deliverance. But you contrast that with Ahaz. Contrast Hezekiah with Ahaz in chapter 7. Ahaz, of course, is Hezekiah's father. So the apple's fallen very far from the tree here. But Ahaz goes to Assyria for help. He rejects, he straight up rejects Isaiah. Isaiah says, ask God for a sign. And Ahaz says, I'm not going to ask. And he went to Assyria. Here, Hezekiah goes straight to God. He believes God could act, and he knows God could act. So his response here is demonstrating a very mature faith, a faith we should all strive to have. He didn't deny that they were in a grave situation, didn't deny that Assyria was powerful. Instead, he took the crisis to the one that he knew could handle it, and that was God. Didn't go to Egypt. He went to God. Verses 6 through 7, we read of the promise given to Ahaz, the response, which we just read that. So God's command, first of all, be not afraid. Don't be not concerned, but be not afraid. Don't let fear control you here. And then God's focus here is, yes, he's blasphemed me. This Rabshakeh has blasphemed me. Let's see. In verse 6 there, wherewith the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. He says, behold, I will send a blast upon him, and he shall hear a rumor, and return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So Rabshakeh returned, and found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he was departed from Lachish. So it's rather simple here. He's going to send a blast. That's God's going to do it. No other will. He shall hear a rumor. So God's controlling the circumstances here. Notice, I will send a blast. That does not sound like Herodotus's recalling of this event. Herodotus wrote several hundred years afterward, and remember what he said? He said he explained the Assyrians having to turn back or being destroyed by mice. It's not what we read of in Isaiah. He says, I will send a blast, and he will return to his own land. That's a forced retreat. And then he will fall by the swords. Speaking of Sennacherib here, and just think about that. How much guts does it take to predict how someone's going to die? It's I have no idea how anyone I know is going to die. Right? No idea. I could not predict with any degree of certainty how anyone's going to die, but Isaiah does it here. And throughout the text of the Bible, many do it. You have Pharaoh's baker. Remember Daniel? Daniel was in prison, or not Daniel. Joseph, right? Predicted the death of the Pharaoh's baker 3 days before it happened. You have King Ahab. His death was predicted 3 years before, and the prophet said that dogs would lick up his blood after he died. That's exactly what happened. 3 years. Jezebel, her death was in detail, or details about her death were given in 1 Kings 21. About at least 12 years before it actually happened. Dogs consumed her as well. And then Judas Iscariot, if we look at Hezekiah chapter 11, 520 years ahead of time, and the details of his death were given in Zechariah 11. Many others, I think there are at least 17 instances where the circumstances surrounding one's death are predicted in the Bible. The unforeseen test principle. I would not dare to predict someone's death if I didn't know for sure. And the only way I'd know for sure is if it came from God himself. Was that the second? Second bell went? Okay. We will pick up. Let me see how much time not time, but content we have here. I think we'll pick up there, not next Wednesday, because Corey and I will be in Washington, D.C. This time next Wednesday. I think, Sean, you said that God is not glorified in Washington, D.C. But he will be next week, because we'll be there. But thank you all for your attention, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
You have to say triple.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Side of it.
Yeah, me too.